Oh, okay. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. This is the Will Marotti Show, your host, Will Marotti. And Alex Tinker, our engineer, our crack researcher, LJ, our call screener, the lovely Roz, and of course you, our beloved audience. Hey, how did your weekend go? We had a fabulous weekend. Several reasons. Number one, our daughter's home this weekend, and it's always great to have your kids home, right? So that was wonderful. We had great services at church, wonderful, and also there was a really exciting IndyCar race from Monterey, California that I watched. Obviously not there, and that was great. And so it was just good. It was just a good week. We hit the pool. It was great. The storms, my gosh. For you guys up in like my home state, Northern Connecticut, I mean, it's not a big state to begin with to say Northern, but you guys got hammered yesterday. Hail, crazy. I mean, we got a little bit of it down here, but just kind of the tail end. You guys got hammered. And I hope everybody's okay. I hope you got your power back. I don't know how many people are out with power right now, but it was a crazy storm but it's summer, right? I mean, this is what happens. It's summer, and we get a lot of. Actually, I'll tell you, we were coming home. We went out last night. Family went out for some dessert last night, and on the way home, I hear on the radio, and it's the weather alert system, right? And they had for the upper northern part of Connecticut, they had tornado warnings. I'm like, I don't like tornadoes at all. I get nervous when I travel different places and I get in the airports and I see yellow signs that say tornado shelters with arrows. Don't like that at all. Not reassuring whatsoever. But anyway, so it was a great weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. 860-788-4448, the number. And we've got a great show for you today. We've got two guests coming in. I want to talk about a story that I just touched on briefly last week, and the fact that home construction, lowest it's been in 4 years. Home building permits also slumped. And we've got an expert to come on, lifelong friend. It's pretty much lifelong friend with Berkshire Hathaway. Kevin Green's going to be our guest at 9:15. And then at 9:30, we're going to talk with Steve Bucci from the Heritage Foundation, a regular occurrence where we'll talk about some military concerns and some things that are going forward. And a big question. Oh boy, this is going to be extremely highly debated. An upcoming potential draft for the military, which we haven't had for years, and we'll talk about that. So that's going to go on. In the I don't think we should be forced to drive electric vehicles category. Again, I'm not against EVs. I just think their time it's just not the right. It's never going to be the right time. Current technology. I think maybe someday, but right now, and I've got two stories about that I think the market generally drives what's going on, right? And so what we normally get is okay. I'm looking at Alex. He's moving levers and knobs and pulling levers and looking at us. Okay. We're good. Okay. Hey, listen, thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, formerly known as Twitter, thank you. Also, if you're on any of those channels, please do this right now. Like, share, and comment. It's so big. And I try to get to everybody, even if it's just a little heart. I try to get to everybody. And please do that. It helps us so much. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe now. We do that now. Just hit the subscribe button, subscribe to our channel. Then you get everything we do. Now, occasionally we go on when there's not a show. We'll just like a breaking news thing. And so you'll get alerts to that and you'll know when we're on. And it's really a great platform. Let me say good morning to a few folks. Luke, good morning from Illinois. Melissa, good morning. Hey, Selma, good morning. Greg, good morning. Lori F, good morning. Priscilla, good morning. Gigi, good morning. James, good morning, James. Caitlin, good morning. Gene S, good morning. Sandy B, good morning. Donna T, good morning. Al and Naugatuck, how you doing, Al? Judy, good morning. Lonnie Moe, good morning, brother. The podcast. It's a great podcast. You should check it out. It's called Life Lived by Faith. It has to do with marriage and things like that. It's pretty cool. Daniel Janessa, good morning. Elaine P, good morning. Tracy, thank you so much, Tracy. Tracy sent me a wonderful email because he won the book last week and that we gave away, and he started reading it, and just really, really was a very gracious email. Thank you. We're going to give another book away. I'm not sure today or tomorrow, but stay tuned. Dorothy, thank you. Carol L, hello. Our guest coming up, Kevin Green, good morning. Barbara, good morning. Doreen, good morning. Cassie, good morning. Gosh, Ice Rocket, good. Don't you love that hint? Ice Rocket, isn't that so cool? I don't know who to. Big Pappy, good morning. Shelby from Illinois, good morning. Izzy from Florida, good morning, you dog. We all hate you, Izzy, because you're in such wonderful weather 90% of the time. No, we don't. We love you. Lori L, good morning. Kate, good morning. Just a great lineup already this morning. A lot of folks jumping on. Jill LG, good morning. Thank you. LG, that's like a TV, right? Don't they make LG? Yeah, so in the electric vehicle, I don't want to have to drive and be forced to drive one. This has been going on for a long time. This is not a news story. This is just published. This is from Forbes magazine, published recently, not just. I shouldn't use that as a description. Akio Toyoda, the CEO of Toyota, and is now the chairman of the board, believes that battery electric vehicles, BEVs, are not the final answer. And he says no matter what the electric car segment does, the market will never be more than 30% electric. And so he gave this presentation, and he says, and I disagree, the enemy is CO2. No, the enemy is not CO2, because CO2 makes up 0.04% of our atmosphere, and I think plants need CO2. I remember reading that somewhere. Plants, trees, they need CO2. Anyway, Mr. Toyoda, the president of CEO of Toyota, says that they're going to do a multi-prong approach to this to lower emissions, and he describes how they're going to do it. They're going to do certainly going to do some beverages, battery electric vehicles, but they're also not going to stop making gas cars, internal combustion cars, and they're going to add to that hybrids, which are popular. People like hybrids. Why not just, if they're popular, let the market decide. And they're also going to, they're in many companies. I'm a big proponent of hydrogen. I think if we can ever figure out how to successfully, quickly harvest hydrogen, it's going to change. It's a world changer, because hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. Hydrogen, when it's used as a fuel, emits nothing except, Alex, what does hydrogen emit? Water and oxygen. That's it. Water vapor and oxygen. That's all you get out of hydrogen emission exhaust. And so this is what, a guy that knows a little bit about cars, the CEO of Toyota, he says it's not the answer, never going to change. Now, there are some countries that have exceeded that. Norway has exceeded 30%. Iceland has exceeded percent. Sweden. Now, I'll say that in a moment. China is above 20%, but you can't use those. Norway, Iceland, those are outlander countries, little tiny countries. We have more people in Rhode Island than they have in Iceland. In China, they force you to buy them, right? It's not. Can you imagine China? You're in your local dealership, and in China, where all they sell are Chinese-made cars, and they go, "Oh, you'd like to buy a Chinese car or electric car or a gas car? Well, what do you think you're going to buy? You're going to buy an electric car. I mean, come on." Anyway, so Toyota says no. Now, here's an interesting survey as we're coming up on our 9/11 prayer. Here's an interesting survey. Remember when David Letterman used to do that? That's awesome. Not that David Letterman is a conservative by any means, but David Letterman and I have one thing in common. We both love IndyCar racing, and he is part of our team, which I wish I was more so of. Anyway, recent survey done. I have 2 minutes. Recent survey done. Companies in Norway, just mentioned, Norway, Australia, France, Italy, Japan, Brazil, United States, China, Germany. You add all those countries together,
30% of people who bought electric cars want to go back to conventional internal combustion engine cars. Okay. But if you just separate the United States, are you sitting down? Pull over if you're driving. If you just go to the United States, 46% of U.S. electric vehicle owners want to go back to internal combustion cars, almost half. It's not a ringing endorsement. So this is a recent, this is from the Washington Times. This is a recent survey, and McKinsey did the survey. So of all the countries that were in the survey, 30% want to go back to internal combustion, 46% of Americans. So that should tell you something right there. I mean, it is not a booming industry. It's not going to make it. 30%. Toyota says 30% tops ever. I agree with them. All right. It is almost 9/11. So let's take a moment, gather our thoughts together, and do our 911. Call it the Godfather. And we need help, folks. I don't know if you realize it, but our country is upside down and burning, and we need a lot of help. So let's take a moment and gather our thoughts, shall we? Heavenly Father, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we thank you, truly thank you for another day of life, another day that we woke up under our own power. We didn't need extraordinary external means to jumpstart us. We got up. Well, some of us used an alarm. Some of us used the alarm of nature. But we got up. We do our thing. We're grateful, God. We're grateful how good you are to us. You're a good, good God. You bless us. You take care of us. We're grateful for family, for friends, for jobs, for homes to live in, cars to drive, electric or otherwise, food to eat. But most of all, your grace, your mercy, your patience with us, your forgiveness supremely, and the hope of heaven with you. We're grateful, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for letting us live in the United States of America. It's still a free country. I think the greatest country ever exist in humanity. Most charitable, kind. We've done more to heal illness. We've done more to end poverty, hunger around the world. We've done a lot of great things. Made mistakes too, just like people. But it's a great country. But we need your help. We need your help, God. There's so many forces pulling against us right now. Many of us want to go back to the country that we were raised in. And so, God, for that to happen, there's going to have to be a tremendous outpouring. You have to draw many people turning to you by the tens, hundreds of millions, giving their lives to you, wanting you, seeking your wisdom, your will, your way for their lives. Of course, the gift of salvation is priceless. Thank you so much. But we need you, God. We need you, and we're seeing now the results of turning away. As a nation, we've turned away from you. We worship all kinds of gods other than you. So we need your help. We thank you for all the men and women who serve in our military. We pray you bless and protect them, comfort their families as they're separated. Thank you for our veterans who have already served. Thank you for our first responders, law enforcement, local, regional, federal. Thank you. Bless them today. Give them an extra awareness of evil that's about and people planning to harm us. Firefighters, we're so grateful for firefighters. Bless them. Keep them safe. Of course, everybody in the Border Patrol, we desperately need to support them, and they need help, God. They need help trying to curb this runaway illegal immigration train. So help them, God. And thank you. Thank you for the audience. Pray for health and healing. We pray for peace and reconciliation for relational issues. And of course, we pray for resource for those struggling financially. And thank you for this show. Thank you for the freedom to come on this air and talk about life, liberty, and freedom. And we do so without fear of persecution or prosecution, at least for now. Thank you, God. You're an awesome God. We praise you. We thank you. We love you, and ask all these things in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Amen. Hey, can I get an amen out there? Amens are gladly received via social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, YouTube. Just a little amen. Good morning. Thank you, Luke, for that amen. Thank you so much. Tracy, thank you. Dorothy, thank you. Jeff, thank you. Donna, thank you. Dorian, thank you. All the amens pouring in now. It's so cool to see it. Gigi, Sandy, B, Shelby, thank you. Again, help us with the program. Help us spread the program with your thoughts, your referrals. Word of mouth is still the greatest form of advertising. 70% of people who buy a service, use a service, go to do so because they're invited or referred by a friend or a relative. Far and away, word of mouth, the best advertising ever. All right, it is almost 8:15. 8:15, we're going to talk with Kevin Green, who's an outstanding top realtor for Berkshire Hathaway, always in the top ratings for years. This isn't something that's happened. He's been top 5 at least for the last 10 years. And it's a story talking about last year. Home construction is way down, lowest it's been in 4 years. And also permits for construction is down. And my question is, and we'll ask Kevin, my question is, well, how is that possible? We know that the inventory of homes is somehow is reduced. I get calls every day, calls, emails, or texts almost every day wanting to know if I want to sell my house. And so, we're trying to figure that out. Okay, we have Mr. Green. All right, let's welcome for the first time via video, Kevin Green, Berkshire Hathaway, and Alex is going to bring him up, and let's see how this works. We're waiting. Oh, okay. Okay, let's bring him up audio. We don't have a video of Kevin. Probably didn't brush his hair yet. Kevin, are you out there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Kevin. Let's see. Kevin, are you there? How about now? Kevin, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're hoping to see your handsome face, but you don't have your camera on apparently or something. Well, anyway, hey, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for the gracious comment of being the expert in the area and all that stuff. I'm extremely humble. I'm blessed on what I do, so it is what it is. But I thank you.
Well, and for just history's sake, we've been friends for years, right?
Yeah.
All through school, Thomas Hooker Elementary School, all the way through Maloney High School, and different paths in life. You were always a nice guy in school. I was on the lower tier of niceness when I was in school, but we ended up in a good place, and you've done very well, and very, very proud of you, and happy for you. So help us understand, first of all, am I accurate, Kevin, to say that inventory is stretched right now?
It is. It's very stretched. It's ever since COVID, it's turned the industry upside down, I think, along with a lot of other industries. Things that come on the market, sometimes even if they're not priced right. Used to be years ago, I'd say, well, if it's priced right, it's going to fly off the market. Now it's crazy. Things don't stay on the market more than 48 hours just because.
Are you kidding? Really?
That's crazy.
Wow. I know, I'm not sure exactly, and this doesn't make sense to me. This is a report from Bloomberg I touched on last week. It says that that new home construction down for lowest time in 4 years, and permits are down more than construction. That makes sense. I guess it should be kind of hand in hand. With an inventory that is so strict, why aren't people building houses? Even if they're spec houses to sell, why aren't people building more houses right now?
I think in Connecticut in general, it's the lack of land and the cost to build. There is new construction, but it's limited. We have a condo complex in South Meriden that's been going up, and I understand it's selling like hotcakes, and but that's in the immediate area. That's the only thing that I recall going up as far as new construction.
Yeah. Well, even though commercial, I read an article a couple weeks ago and shared that warehousing, where, we've had this warehouse boom all over the country. You're driving through a cornfield, all of a sudden there's a warehouse, 200,000 square foot warehouse popped up. Then, at least in Connecticut, and this was from CBIA, there is no current new construction for warehouses anywhere in the state of Connecticut. There's things that have already been permitted and could go, but apparently they overbuilt, not just here, all over the country. They overbuilt these warehouses, giant warehouses. So even commercial is down, but even rents, Connecticut is the highest of the 48 states, the contiguous states. Connecticut, and this was just reported like 2 weeks ago, Connecticut is worst place for rental in terms of price, location, availability. Why do we have such a rental problem in Connecticut, do you suppose?
Well, there again, I think it's supply and demand. It's just there's not a lot out there, and it's just the old marketing or what do I want to say, economic supply and demand feeds into that as it does with the residential sales. So
I hear a lot of folks, and I don't believe this, but I hear a lot of folks saying, well, we're not going to buy now because the interest rates are too high. And I remember our first house, I think we had like an 8 or 9% interest in the early 90s when we bought our first house. And I think the old saying is, how's it go? You marry the house, but you date the rate. Right?
Yeah.
You can always get what would you say people that are thinking, young people thinking about buying a house? Rents are ridiculous. I mean, renting is not really, in my opinion, a good option. What would you say right now to younger people thinking about buying a house? What would your counsel be?
Well, real estate's always been a good investment, no matter how you look at it. And it's funny, Will, I looked, I'm always curious in regards to my own industry. I Googled the past 50 years, the average interest rate is 7%. So guess what? That's where we're at.
Right.
We got spoiled with the 2 and 3 and, 4, maybe, a few years back. Mm-hmm. But, the thing with lowering, I know the feds have been fooling around, for the lack of better words, whether they were going to lower the interest rates. The problem is if they lower interest rates, now more buyers are in, which drives the price up. So I don't really know the solution, to be quite honest with you, of this lack of inventory crisis.
Yeah.
I
mean, I just don't think people, again, I'm with you. I think real estate's a great investment, always has been. It's better than any, I mean, it's just consistently good. And like you say, they're not making any more land, right? So if you can get a house now, you might pay a little bit more for it unless you buy a fixer upper. But even to your point earlier, those houses are going like hotcakes.
Right.
But I think don't let the interest rate scare you from buying a house right now. Just if you can afford the payment, just buy the house now. And it may take a dip down, but I mean, we bought a house in Meriden in 2005, I guess it was. And we sold it in 2015. And we were shocked. We put it on the market. It sold in 2 weeks. And we thought that was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And now it's 2 days, right?
Right.
So,
right.
And the house, I more than doubled in value in the time that we had it. So I think over the long haul, the houses will appreciate, going to do better. You're going to do good. So would you agree that if you're thinking about buying and if you can afford to buy, forget about the rate, just buy the house now?
I think so. Yeah. Like I said, of course I'm biased because I'm in the industry, but I mean, it's,
here's that. Yeah.
It's real estate's always been a good investment, no matter what. I mean, and then renting, you're paying your landlord's mortgage as opposed to your own.
Right.
At the average of about $1,500 to $2,000 a month for a rent. I mean, that's a mortgage payment. So
sure. I mean, how did you? I'm asking this because over the years, a lot of people have said to me, "Oh, you should go into real estate." I've had so many offers to go into real estate. A funny thing happened on the way to the church. I became a pastor, so that was kind of weird. But what got you into real estate? Of all the things you could do, what got you into real estate, and why have you been so successful over the years, do you think?
Well, it's a funny story. My wife and I ran a horse boarding riding facility in Meriden for 20 years. Yeah. And one of the boarders that was boarding with us, she was a RE/MAX broker. And she said to me one day, she says, "Kevin, you'd be a good in real estate." I said, "Really? You think so?" And I had no idea that, that. And so I took her suggestion, went into it. Matter of fact, I called her probably about 3 years ago and thanked her for, that suggestion, because it's been, like I said, it's been a blessing. And success, I'm a workaholic and I'm sure you can relate because I see that you're in a lot of things. But it's the golden rule: treat people as you want to be treated.
Yeah,
it'll come back to reward you tenfold.
Yeah,
So.
And you've been with Berkshire Hathaway for a long time. Highly acclaimed around the country. Good, solid company. What would you say for people? And of course, now may not be, or is it a good time? You're a younger person. You're looking for something to do. Maybe you majored in whatever in college. You went in there and you hated it. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
which happens a lot. What would you say to people that are thinking about a change in career? Good for you, obviously. You've done well. You've been in it for a long time. What would you say to young people thinking about changing career, other than the test is hard? What would you say if they're considering a career change at this point in time into real estate?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people have jumped into it when we had COVID because it was so easy to do. I say that in quotation marks because it's still a lot of work, but houses were selling and you didn't have to have really any marketing experience or anything like that. You'd throw the sign up and it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Today it's getting a little more intense in regards to, you gotta know how to market the home. I mean, I for instance, I worked with a girl, 18 offers we put in, and we finally got one accepted. And she was putting in great offers, but it's just, the competition out there is so vicious. But I mean, I enjoy it. It gives me freedom.
Yeah.
You have to be very disciplined, number one, and you have to be able to weave your personal life in and out of your work life.
Right.
Which is, I think that has to be woven within your personality in order to be successful.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not a 9 to 5 punch the clock job. That's for
no, not at all.
Not done either with ministry. And it's funny too because I don't know. I know this is true in church, and I know it's true generally, and I want to get your take on this. You talk about marketing, right? I feel like referral, personal recommendation, nothing beats someone saying, "Hey, you should go to, New Life Church because I go there and I like it." Nothing beats that. It's the best, and more. No, better than billboards, better than social media, better than anything you could possibly do. Is real estate kind of like that too, Kevin?
Same thing. Yeah, I've built it. I've been doing this 24 years. I've built a database that I contact, as much as I can without being a pushy salesman.
Yeah.
And it's just relationships over the years. I've sold people's houses, 20 years ago. Now I'm selling their kids and maybe possibly their grandchildren, down the road if I'm still around. But it's all about relationships, and word of mouth is the best.
Yeah. I think people, I guess they feel there's a sense of confidence if you see an ad on TV or you hear something on radio or you're seeing it on social media. Yeah, maybe. But when somebody family, friend, neighbor, work associate says to you, "Hey, listen," and they ask you a question, I got to buy a house or sell my house. What should I do? And they go, "Well, listen, we use Kevin Green. He was fabulous." I mean, there's automatic credibility there, and there's automatic comfort there. Yeah. So it is by far so important. Let's see. All right. One last question. So you have a house, you've had a house for a while, that it's appreciated greatly in this market, and people are you're constantly getting some text, email, call, do you want to sell your house? What do you say about people that are like on the fence about selling their house right now?
Well, I mean, the first thing I do is when I get a call is I ask them, where are you going from there? Because, we're in the real estate industry, so we know how it works, that you're going to put your house on the market, and guess what? You're going to probably have 12 offers in 3 days. And those people that are buying your house want to know when they're going to close. So you have to have plan B. Well, where are you going? A lot of, as you said, rents. I just sold a house. A guy retired, and I sold his house probably 8 years ago. He's going to rent for the rest of his life. So you have to have, a plan B. Where are you going from where you are,
How about like a trailer? Maybe I got a trailer and I'll live in a trailer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got a friend that does that. A pastor, retired. He and his wife was in a public school system for years. She retired. They're both retired. They're in great shape. Their income is okay. They bought a fifth wheel, a big, and they go all over the place. And they literally sold their house and they live in the fifth wheel and they love it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not wired that way, because for me, roughing it is having to stay in a Marriott overnight. But I'm a creature of comfort. But yeah, listen, we're just about out of time. Kevin, thank you so much. I know it was a short call. Thank you so much. Next time we're going to get you on video so people can match the face with the voice.
Yeah,
And
I have the camera on, Will, but for some reason,
yeah,
it's
I
not
don't know. I don't know
computing,
what's
so
going
I
on.
don't know.
It's probably
Us-
on our end, but we'll.
Us 64, 65-year-olds, technology sometimes is not.
Technology is a distant friend.
Right.
Kevin Green, Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate. How's the best way to get a hold of you, Kevin? People want to get a hold of you.
Cell phones 203-213-1093. I also have a website, kevinwgreen.com. Or you can go to the Wallingford Cinema, and I have an ad in front of every movie, so I'll be there to say hello to you.
Give me the website again, kevinwgreen.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Hey, thank you so much. Good to connect again. Appreciate you. Best wishes in the future, and we'll talk to you again. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Take care.
Kevin Green, everybody, Berkshire Hathaway. All right, we are going to take a break. 3 minutes. Listen to some music. We'll be back. We come back. We're going to have Steve Bucci with us from the Heritage Foundation. Stay with us. We'll be back. 3 minutes. All right, welcome back, everybody. Will Marotti Show. We've been so blessed over the years to have really great guests, and we've had a large network that we've been blessed to develop over the years. No one better than our next guest, Heritage Foundation, a lifetime of service in the military, most of the time in special forces. I always say, whenever I think of this, I think of the movie. It was out in the 60s. I think it was John Wayne, Green Beret. Do you remember that movie? Oh, you're way too young. It was about the start of the Vietnam War. We sent in advisors. Yeah, right. And so I always think, I don't know why, I always think of Green Beret with our next guest. But spent time at the Pentagon, worked directly for the Secretary of Defense, and now visiting fellow with the Heritage Foundation. does a lot of consulting for security, cybersecurity, regular security. And so we're so happy to welcome back from the Heritage Foundation, Steve Bucci. Hey, Steve.
Hi, Pastor. It's great to be back on the show.
Good to see you. Couple things that are happening right now that I'm concerned about. I don't know that I should be, but both involving carrier groups. We have one carrier group, the USS Theodore Roosevelt, going into waters around South Korea, and I'm not sure if that's just routine, or are we concerned about anything going on with China that we probably haven't or shouldn't publicize, or are we concerned about North Korea? One of my concerns about North Korea is that former President Bush made a point of meeting with the North Korean leader. I don't even think they've had a phone call. I don't think Biden has even had a phone call with Kim Jong-un. So should we be concerned about that, or do you think that's normal? Is it just normal business right now that we've got a carrier group off the sea in South Korea?
Well, it is relatively normal. We should always be concerned when we have large targets like a carrier battle group that close to the range of the missiles in North Korea. I don't think Kim Jong-un is going to attack that carrier group anytime soon, but I think some of it is messaging. Vladimir Putin was just there in North Korea visiting with Kim Jong-un, bought a boatload, literally, of artillery shells and other weaponry from the North Koreans. That's not that big a change over time from the relationship before, but this is a very public visit, a lot of pomp and circumstance. I think there's probably some messaging going on there, but it's also messaging for China. I think you're right there. China doesn't like us to have our carrier battle groups anywhere in that region, but we continue to sail them through there for freedom of navigation and to let them know that, no, they really don't own all the water in Asia. And we have every right to sail through it and to be there visiting our allies.
Right.
So a lot of multiple messaging going on. I don't think this is predicated by a particular event or something that's coming, we hope, anyway. But it's there to do the normal deterrence kind of actions that our carrier battle groups are an enormous part of, because they're so visible, they're so big and powerful, and we send them into these areas to let the bad guys know, don't push us too far. But you're right, though, with regard to the Biden administration and North Korea, they have not done a heck of a lot of outreach of any sort, either, challenging them or trying to co-opt them to get them that better behavior. They've just kind of ignored it. And I think some of that is because the Biden administration is so desirous of sort of, not to sound like I'm making a quip, but to kowtow to the Chinese. North Korea is not controlled by China, but they have the closest relationship with China that they do with anybody. So China may have said, hey, back off on North Korea. We'll take care of them. But we'll wait and see what happens there.
I mean, certainly during the Korean, I'll say, conflict, I think it's a war. Anytime you get bullets flying by your head, I think it's a war. But the Chinese helped North Korea tremendously during that time, right?
Oh, yeah. When General MacArthur got up near the northern border of South Korea and looked like they were, they went into North Korea and they got anywhere near China, all of a sudden the Chinese attacked and drove the UN forces all the way back out of what is now North Korea and reestablished the border between North and South Korea. Kind of a bad outcome of that conflict that was going positively once the UN got involved. But it was the UN was involved, but it was the American military, really. We had allies there, but they were in pretty small numbers compared to our contributions. But yeah, China and North Korea, very tight, very long-standing relationship, and now Russia trying to reinvigorate that relationship as well. That one's a little more utilitarian.
Mm-hmm.
The Russians need the artillery ammunition. The North Koreans need the money and the public support. So those guys are palling around now.
Isn't it striking that you look at the Trump administration regarding foreign policy, and what did Trump do? Trump talked to Putin. Trump talked to Kim Jong Un. Trump kept those lines of communications open. Heavily sanctioned Iran. Didn't let Iran have any wiggle room at all. You reverse that, and what has Biden done? Biden's done just the opposite of Trump. And during Trump's time, we had no new conflicts, no new wars. Well, we got wars all over the place now under Biden. I mean, I think the average American, just looking at it from a foreign policy perspective, would have to say, man, Trump really had these guys' number and dialed it in, and Biden just seems to be tripping over himself. I mean,
yeah, this is the classic thing. The old foreign policy mavens and experts in Washington all went, "Oh my gosh, he's saying bad things about the alliance. He's making demands on them that they won't like. He doesn't act like a diplomat. This is going to be terrible." Except it wasn't terrible. Suddenly, our NATO allies started paying more than they were paying before. When the Russians challenged our military in Syria, in fact, there were Russian forces together with the Syrian forces tried to attack one of our bases. In our guys were in eastern Syria, and they were there to fight ISIS. But now all of a sudden, the Russians and the Syrians were coming after them. And they called in and said, what can we do? President Trump said, smoke them. And all of a sudden, a whole bunch of American air power showed up. And those Russians were shown that they can die too when you hit them with big bullets.
Right.
And you know what? Russia didn't mess with us again. So it's not that President Trump was a buddy of those guys, but he did reach out to them and said, look, you want to play nice? We'll cooperate with you. We can work with you. You don't play nice, I'm going to smack you. And that kind of thought process resonates even with bad people like Putin and Kim Jong Un. It's Biden's much more traditional. Oh yeah, we're all friends.
Yeah.
We can work together, and we'll give you this. And they know they can take Biden to the cleaners, and they have. And
right.
You're absolutely right. President Trump, for a guy who was supposed to be a foreign policy disaster, according to the experts, turned out to be one of the most effective foreign policy presidents we've had in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. It's just in my mind, you hear pundits on TV, radio, you hear Republican and Democrats a lot are saying, if Biden's a candidate, Trump's gonna win handily. And polls seem to indicate that Trump leading in 6 battleground states, Trump taking a huge percentage of Latinos and blacks from Biden. It's not looking good for Biden. You got Clinton, Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer plotting to see if they can replace Biden somehow. I'm wondering, does the Chinese look at this and go, man, we better get our act together, because if Trump goes back in there, our window is going to close for opportunity, whether that's the Hamas or the Houthis or China. Do you think they're thinking that way? Are they considering that, like, Trump could be back?
They have to at least do the calculation. I mean, none of these people are stupid. They might think very differently than you and I, but they're not dumb. They know how to calculate their interests and when it might be a good time to move, vice waiting or doing something sooner. And I'm kind of concerned about that, because there is this possibility that, big possibility that President Trump will win, or that Biden will somehow get disappeared by his own party and be removed from the ticket. They don't know who's coming in on the Democrat side if that latter situation occurs. They know they're going to have less wiggle room if Trump comes back in. Sometimes that will lead somebody to better behavior. sometimes that could lead them to say, like you say, the window's closing. We need to act now, or we might not have another chance for a while. And then they do something that's dangerous and deadly. I hope that last possibility doesn't occur, but it's a possibility. And that's the danger with having someone who is as wishy-washy as Biden has been with our allies and adversaries overseas. But it's also just the weakness, the inability to make the tough decisions that is dangerous in an American president. But that's what we've had for the last 3.5 years.
Well, and so many people, not just former President Trump, but so many people will say that, well, if Trump was president, you would not have the problem in Ukraine right now that they're having. If Trump was president, you would not have had the October 7th massacre by the Hamas people on Israel. So many more things would have been controlled had Trump been president, as it was in his 4 years as president before. I think a lot of people are, particularly independents, are giving thought to that and saying, "Man, what's going on here? We've got these wars and rumors of wars and threats." It's now one other thing about another carrier group, and I'm a little concerned about this, but you can speak to it. The Dwight Eisenhower battle group has been in the waters around Yemen with all the Houthi problems going on. Now they're pulling back. They're leaving. Is that probably routine? Their mission has ended. Do you think they'll be replaced by another carrier strike force group, or how do you see that playing?
We do rotate those carrier battle groups. They can only stay out. Well, they could stay out there for a long time, but we usually have them in place for about 6 months at a time. In this case, I have not seen a battle group that's moved in to replace the Eisenhower. And that's problematic because the Houthis are still shooting at ships all over the area around Yemen. They need to be controlled. I don't think the Biden administration has done enough to control them. We could put more pressure on them and remove them from being major players in that area by smacking them every time they shoot at anybody, not just a pinprick, but go in there and do strikes that are big enough to take out that capability, and possibly do some strikes at the supply lines of the Iranians bringing weaponry into the Houthis and stopping that as well. Biden's not going to do that. Biden's got too many people in his administration who are still delusional about the role that Iran can play. They still think they're going to be able to reach out to them and bring them into the process, which is nutty. That's never going to happen unless the government changes in Tehran. And Tehran controls the Houthis.
Sure.
So we need a battle group in the area to fight that battle, but we could get it done and let them do other missions besides sit there, and hope the Houthis never get through their defenses and that we can keep plinking the Houthis. But, that's not a useful methodology. They need to fix the problem as best they can now, rather than just let it sit there and linger. It's like a running sore right now.
All right. Last thing, and I saved the best for last, I think. I heard this last week, not surprised, but the talk of a draft is getting, more circulated. And the big debate right now, and will be in Congress, is should women be drafted? Never been our policy in the past. Many folks have spoken for it, against it. Most notably, Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri has been very critical of the situation. Other countries have women in the military. I think of Israel. You're not exempt from the military in Israel because you're a female. But in a country that can't even really describe what a woman is, should we be drafting them into military, particularly and putting them in harm's way?
I am not a fan of a draft at all. I mean, we could have some sort of national service somewhere. Our military, we don't we don't enlist everybody in our military. We don't have uniform, universal service in the military. We don't need that many people. We have too many. We couldn't afford to pay a military that big.
Mm-hmm.
If every 18 to 20-year-old had to do 2 years or 4 years, whatever it is. So to do a draft now, it would be similar to the draft during the Vietnam era, where there were lots of people who were exempted. Not everybody, when they finally went to the lottery system,
Mm-hmm.
if your number was high enough, you didn't get called. Why do that? We need to do a better job of letting the military be the military and stop using it as a social experiment.
Right.
Then we can probably get the enlistments back up and do it with an all volunteer force, which frankly is superior to a conscripted force, because the people all want to be there.
Right.
But we got to fix the internal problems with this administration. They're so bent on using the military to prove all their weird social ideas that's part of it. Those same people are the ones now want the draft and want women drafted, because they think our military should be 50-50, men and women. But, if you look at Israel, that's the example a lot of people give. Women serve in their military. They don't have women in their infantry units or their special ops units. Mm-hmm. They're in communications units, logistical units, military police, military intelligence. They don't have them in all the military occupational specialties. We don't need 50% of our units to be female. That's not what our system requires. If you can't do the task of that particular job, you shouldn't be in it, whether you're male or female. If you can do the tasks, fine. You want to have women in there, go for it.
Sure.
But I tell you what, the liberals are going to find out, most of America, they don't mind if Susie wants to enlist in the military or go to ROTC to become an officer, but they don't necessarily want Susie told, you have to come in and serve, because Susie may want to be a wife and a mother and stay home and raise kids.
Sure. I'm not for the draft either. I think the reason it's coming up so much is, and you and I touched on this last week, we know last year across the board, all branches missed their recruiting goal by 10%. Right now, except for the Air Force, everybody's about a 20% miss. More time to go. Obviously, we could catch up to that to a bit. But I'm just wondering if people are getting nervous because people are not joining for whatever reason. And they're thinking, if we get into a conflict with, anywhere else that would require boots on the ground, would we be able to sustain that? I don't know that.
I don't have any problem with having, registration so that we know who's out there. But I hope we don't go all the way to initiating a draft. And I'm not sure we want even universal registration for females as well. I just don't think we need that. Frankly, it's not the way you fight wars. And I'm sure there's going to be somebody out there say, oh my God, you're a misogynist. No, hey, look, I've been beaten in marathons by women. I know women I had a friend who took me to a yoga class one time, and she was standing there doing handstands on one hand. And this is a very successful businesswoman. She's just amazing. And I'm saying, I couldn't do the handstand up against the wall. And she was doing a one-handed one in the middle of the floor.
With people holding your legs.
So I'm not saying women can't do this stuff, but the majority of women don't want to, and many couldn't. So it's stupid to force it. And that's what the left wants to do, because they think there shouldn't be any barriers for anybody, which, I'm sorry, men and women are different. They approach things differently. They have different physiological strengths and weaknesses. We just need to do it the right way. And registration, fine. Universal conscription, that's not what America needs. Yeah. I think we can fix the enlistment problem once we get an administration that understands what in the heck they're doing. That's not the one we have right now.
Well, we need a new commander in chief is what we need. And that, I think
Absolutely.
that'll take care of all the problems. But I mean, the whole DEI thing doesn't work. And I heard someone talk about this a couple of weeks ago. I said, the proof of that, well, look at 3 areas where DEI doesn't work: the NBA, the NFL, and the NHL. If DEI works, it has to work everywhere. It'll never work in those circles. And so it's a flawed concept to begin with. And it certainly shouldn't be applied to the military, but maybe we think differently than the folks in charge now. Hey, Steve, again, thank you so much for taking time out and coming in, and appreciate you so much. And thank you for all the work that you've done for your country, the work that you're currently doing. And we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, Pastor. You have a great week, and best to your family and your congregation. And I look forward to talking to you next Monday.
You too. You too. Steve Bucci, everybody. There you go. Thank you so much. All right. As I said earlier, we're going to give a book away. And not prepared. The book I want to give away today is near and dear to my heart. Because it's about motorsports, and it's a concept that I came up with a couple years ago. And storyline is mine, characters. I didn't have the time to write it, so I called a good friend who is a prolific writer, Mark Dill. Asked Mark if he would write the book for us, and he did. And then we found a wonderful illustrator, a young woman, Mary Lynn Smith, who illustrated it. Today we're going to give away a copy of my favorite book, Spirit of Speedway. Spirit of Speedway is a children's book. It's written on a 3rd grade level. It's great for kids, grandkids, and it's all about a story of a young car that was born in Speedway, Indiana. His name is Speedway, and he always had dreams of going into the big 500-mile race. And he was a lot of times discouraged, made fun of, but he found an ally and he found a mentor. And I don't want to tell you the whole story, but it's a great book. The illustrations are great. And we put a lot of did you know kind of tips about IndyCar racing, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And it's a great story, and you'll love it. You'll love it for your kids. You'll love it for your grandkids. Available on Amazon. So we're going to give this book away right now, 860-788-4448, 860-788-4448. And we're going to give the book away to the, let's see, how much time do we have? We're going to give away to the second caller. So give us a call. I'd love for you to get this book. I will autograph it. I will mail it to you, postage paid. And this would be something that you'll enjoy to give as maybe a gift to your kids, your grandkids, or spending time reading with your kids, your grandkids. But we got to get some callers to give it away. 860-788-4448. In the meantime, let me just talk about, while we're waiting for calls, we've got a couple minutes left. Let me talk about a couple things here. This is an amazing story. I've been saying this, not just I've been saying this, many people have said this, that AI is going to replace a lot of human people jobs. And already a big cut in jobs across the board: automotive, public service, communications, media, retail, software development, travel, capital markets, energy, insurance. Number one, banking so far has seen the largest amount of job loss because of AI, 54% cut. And they say because of AI, it goes down the list. Insurance is next. Energy is next. Only 30% of automotive folks have lost jobs because of AI. Only 30% of public sector jobs have lost because of AI. But this is, and again, I think AI is relatively early in its introduction to us. All right, we got some calls coming in. I'm going to take all the calls. We're going to take the second caller. So I'm going to take the first call that came in. And first call is Mark. Mark, good morning. How are you?
Hello. Good morning.
How you doing?
Good. Fantastic day down here in Pinehurst, North Carolina.
I wish you were the second caller, but you're the first caller from North Carolina. Thank you so much for calling, and thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you very much. Thank you, Mark. Have a great day.
Okay.
And we're going to go down to our second caller, who I think I might know who this is, the second caller. The second caller is, from New Haven County, at a particular steel company that we're familiar with, a very large, one of the largest steel companies in the world. I'm guessing this, it is. I'm guessing this could be Selma.
It is. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? I'm good.
Very well, thank
Thanks
you.
for calling in. You are the winner of the Spirit of Speedway book. Very happy. I know one of your grandchildren will love this. You'll love reading it to them. It's wonderful. So
I'm sure they will. They love to read. So thank you very much. Great show today.
Thank you.
Every day so far.
And
awesome.
Nucor is one of the largest steel companies in the world, you know.
I do. I work for Nucor and also Lucky Hook Charter, so that's awesome.
You know that for a long time. Selma, thank you for a call. I will get this out to you today, autographed, postage paid. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And
have a great day.
Thanks for calling. Thank you. All right.
Look forward to the rest of the week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bye. All right, guys, that's it. We are out of time. Time to go. Thank you so much. Remember, whether you're watching whatever platform you're watching on, please like, comment, share. So important that you do. I try to touch everybody and particularly, please, YouTube is the platform that we're moving toward. Everybody still going to do other things, but YouTube is built to be a video platform. And we get a lot of exposure there. So please subscribe. If you're on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to our channel. And then it's always available on Spotify and Apple. And we're pushing Spotify. So go to Spotify. Just look at Will Marotti. Also, if you go to my social media, which is Will Marotti, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, we've put a logo up there. If you scan that logo, you'll get the Spotify. It'll take you right to our Spotify program. So listen, thank you so much. Great show planned for you tomorrow. We will have George Colley on. We're going to talk about the debacle at the Travelers with the climate terrorists charging the course. We'll talk about that. Chris Powell, also former editor of Journal-Inquirer, talk about some local Connecticut stuff. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great week. You're going to love all the programming that we have. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you. Crack researcher LJ, thank you. And of course, our lovely call screener, Roz. Thank you so much. Hey, enjoy your day. Great weather. God bless you. I love you. See you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.